She goes all the way around.
I gotta go
Kind
all
of
the
put
way
that in
around.
an inconvenient spot.
Yeah.
So again, your name was Ron.
Yep. Ron.
Thank you so much for doing this. Appreciate it. All right, so first question. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. First question, what do you think happens when someone passes away? What do you think happens to them?
I think their body just stops functioning, and I don't really think there's anything after. So
Okay.
yeah, I think once the brain's dead, then as far as we can tell, that seems to be the end of it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So you don't believe in an afterlife is what
No.
you're saying.
No.
So I'm guessing you don't believe in a God.
No,
Okay. So what would you consider yourself?
I would say I'm an
yourself-
atheist. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So did you grow up as an atheist, or did you grow up religious at all?
No, yeah, I grew up religious. I grew up, probably about half of my youth was in a Baptist church, and then the other was in an evangelical
really?
church. So yeah,
Wow.
so I definitely had a good amount of exposure to it growing up. So yeah.
Okay. So have you read through the Bible before? Like, have you actually? Because the reason I mention that mainly is because it's the best-selling book in the world today. It still holds the Guinness Book of World
Sure.
Record or world record for.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think I've read the entire thing, but yes, I mean, when I was growing up, definitely was reading it every day. Probably into my early 20s, I was still pretty deeply entrenched in my beliefs too, so I was
Okay.
reading more to kind of learn outside of just the ways that my parents taught me around Christianity and stuff like that. And
Okay.
yeah, but
So why are you an atheist now?
I think I just, probably towards the end of my early 20s, I just started having a lot of questions about it that I didn't seem to be getting
Answers?
solid answers to.
Okay.
That's at least what maybe started it. I would say, just lots of questions that I was just not getting satisfactory answers to. Now I would say it's more just, I've spent a lot of time listening to both sides of it, and I'm just not super. I get why people believe in that stuff, but
Okay.
I'm just not super compelled by most of the
So
arguments.
you're
for it,
not an
so.
angry atheist.
Not anymore.
Okay,
Not
you used
anymore.
to be.
I definitely used to.
Okay,
Be, yeah, for sure.
Well, it's good
Yeah.
to at least admit that.
Yeah, yeah,
'cause,
And I can get fired up still sometimes, but by
But
and
you're
large-
sympathetic.
Yeah, for sure.
To Christians.
For sure,
Okay.
absolutely. I get why people believe it, definitely, and other religions too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think at least something I've learned, especially from history, is that religion really came from this sense of seeking the divine, because they just practically questioned, like, why are we here? It must be because of some, we're contingent in some ways. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
really
yeah.
looking for that original source, and so doing sacrifices and serving and essentially trying to please this divine. It's just they make their own version. So whether or not one of them is actually true, I think is really what matters in the end. So I am a Christian, but more by evidence, and I love science, especially. I've grown up in a Christian home. My dad's actually a pastor,
Gotcha.
a Baptist
Nice.
pastor.
Nice, but that's fun.
Yeah, definitely. I see all the bad,
Right,
but
yeah,
I've
yeah.
also seen a lot of good. My
Uh-huh.
mom and dad are amazing examples of Christians. So I've had bad Christians in my life, and they've hurt me, but my mom and dad are just excellent examples of what really means.
That's good.
So
That's good.
So I didn't have this disdain, essentially, just mainly for fakes, and I didn't want to be one. So I just continually tried to actually study Christianity itself and understand it. I love analyzing. I tend to overanalyze anything. You give me a movie, I will absolutely overanalyze everything in it. My brother Steven was that way we watched that robot movie. Yes. He's like, I didn't see that at all. Like, where are you getting this from? And I'm like, I just see this, man. This is what they're thinking. And anyways, but that's just the short version. Is just that I'm really into apologetics and philosophy.
For sure.
So we can go with that, but if we have any time at the end, we can maybe talk a little bit about that. Let's continue this. So this is a question I love to ask people. If there is a heaven or a hell, do you think that you are morally good enough for God to let you into heaven?
If there is one, I mean, I would hope that's obviously the goal is to be, even without religion, I want to be a good person and,
Right.
someone that's of use to those around me. And,
Right.
and
You want to be
productive.
ethical,
Right. Yeah,
good
yeah.
to
Mhm.
society.
Yeah.
You know,
Obviously, I certainly have flaws and make mistakes and everything, but it's kind of hard to answer when you just don't believe it. But obviously,
Yeah.
it's a hypothetical I can, engage with. But
you can, in a sense,
yeah.
you can just say, "I want to."
I would certainly hope that I would be.
Okay, and there's a reason I'm asking that.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so just bear with me here. But do you remember any of the 10 Commandments from Exodus 20?
Sure.
Oh, actually, can you
Yeah.
name some?
Yeah, thou shalt not murder. I can't remember the exact phrasing of them all, but honor your parents, no
Mhm.
false gods.
Mhm.
Yeah, some of the other ones are slipping my mind right now, but
Do not lie. Do
Yeah,
not
right.
steal.
Mhm. Yep.
Do not commit
all the
adultery.
big things.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Well, and the reason I mention that is just because it is essentially a moral outline, right? In fact, our country is really founded on a lot of Christian principles. 40 of the founding fathers, most people don't know this, but they were exceptionally Christian.
Sure.
And so because of that, you have that really based in, like, kind of grinded into our law. And it was actually an atheist historian who said that we are Christians without knowing it. His name is Tom Holland, the historian, not the actor.
Sure.
And a lot of people agree with him, especially historians, because it's been so ingrained into our culture, just like just these Judeo-Christian ethics, is that we don't even realize that, like, we think that stealing is wrong, or we think that treating women with disrespect is wrong, because that's what Jesus taught, or that's what the Bible originally taught. So, anyways, you may disagree with me on that, but
Sure.
this is just why I use the 10 Commandments as just a guideline. Okay, so I'm curious, have you ever told a lie in your life? Okay, so you've broken the 9th one, just so you know that's the 9th one. So the 8th one is to not steal. Have you ever stolen anything?
Sure.
Okay. What about the 3rd one is to not use God's name in vain, which means to not give proper honor. Have you done that?
Oh goodness, yes.
I mean, I can imagine. I understand
Yeah,
you
yeah.
don't believe that that's
Right. It doesn't
an
mean
offense,
anything to
right?
me. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is a hard one for guys.
Sure.
Okay, but Jesus said if you look with lust,
Uh-huh.
you commit adultery in your heart.
Uh-huh.
Have you done that before?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. And I appreciate your honesty. Okay, I want you to know that I'm not trying to condemn you here, because
No. You're fine.
I've broken these laws many times, and I'm not proud of that. But the reason I mention this is that essentially, if you have broken these laws and there is actually a heaven and hell, God does exist. I realize that's a lot of hypothetical, but that means that He has to punish you for your sins, and because if He exists, He's the essence of justice. He's really the essence of goodness, and justice is just one of those characteristics.
Sure.
So by just that standard, would you go to heaven or hell? Just the four.
Oh well,
that we
this
looked
is.
at.
I mean, I'm very familiar with I understand what you're saying, and I mean, obviously by
I'm sure you
those
do.
metrics, yeah. I mean, obviously I fall short. I know that's the entire message. Like, that's what I was raised on. And that's what I believed for
Yes.
the first half of my, more than half of my life. So, of course, now I just don't think that that's true.
Of course.
I don't think
You don't hold to the veracity of it.
No, I just don't see. Like, all of this stuff is like I can answer it. When you're asking these questions, I can answer them, I guess, from your perspective, sort of like trying to treat these things as being true. But
No, and I appreciate that.
obviously, I've lied, I've stolen, lusted after women, all that kind of stuff. That's all very normal things that every person has done. Most of those
yes.
things, while those things individually are not good, I don't think that they alter my
like
my
overall
value or
goodness,
my yeah. They don't define who I am. Just those,
right.
Those individual
No,
things,
and I
so.
agree.
And that's why I said still yes earlier. When you were asking a question about do you hope or think that you would still go if there was heaven? So hopefully I would, but obviously it depends on which version of this you believe, and it's contingent on a lot of
and
that
I know
stuff,
there are of course different denominations.
For sure.
Some believe that you are justified because of the works that you do, the good things that you do. But Christianity historically has been you are justified by grace,
right? Through
and
Jesus,
that exactly through Jesus. And the only reason I'm mentioning this is because the Old Testament is all about the moral failures of humankind, and the New Testament is about the moral it actually talks about this in the Old Testament as well, but the moral exceptionality. I don't know if I'm saying that word correctly, but of God, and that in order for humans to really do anything right, they essentially need God. When they're left to themselves, this is the whole book of Judges, when they're left to themselves, even with commandments from God, they still will fail because God's standard is perfection. And so it's impossible to follow that. And they'll just do what everyone else does. And in fact, one of the phrases in Judges, I love this, every man did that which was right in his own eyes. It's essentially humanism. Is that, like, this is my morality, right? I guess that's subjective morality, right? But if there really is objective morality, then that means that even the things that you don't think are necessarily that big of an issue are a bigger issue to the one who essentially holds it all. And so that's why I only mention that. I realize it is still I'm mentioning hypothetical stuff. I know you don't believe that, and I appreciate your kindness. But that is really why God brought Jesus, because he is the only one who can pay for our sins. In fact, I love to say it like this because this just helps me to at least grasp it. I just want you to kind of understand the philosophy of this. Maybe you've heard this before, but right before Jesus died, I think I looked up the verse. It was John 19:30. He uses the Greek word tetelestai. It comes out in English as "it is finished." But what it literally means is finally done, or finally paid for, completely paid for. So as if you were in a court of law and you owed speeding tickets that you couldn't pay, but if someone paid for them in your place, you could be set free. You're still guilty, but because someone paid the fine, right, now you're essentially indebted to that person and you're grateful. But that's the thing, is that you can be set free, all your sins forgiven by the payment of Jesus. I know you've heard this before. Okay, but this is some of the reason we do this, is to share that with people, especially people who don't know it. But even just to get you to think, because God forbid that you go home today and die in like a car crash. I mean, that would be horrific.
That would suck.
Horrendous. But over 160,000 people die every 24 hours, right? And easily, I could be next, you could be next. So it's a sobering thing to essentially think about. And I know you understand that. At least I hope you do.
For sure.
But I just want you to realize, maybe you are at this state, but just that you could be wrong. You said you used to be an angry atheist.
Yeah, of course I could be wrong.
And I'm not saying that I am. I mean, I certainly believe that I'm right. I think I'm right to the point where I'll use my cameras to do this.
I would hope that you're doing this because you think you're right.
I'm passionate in that, but I kind of want to know some of your thoughts, because I want to know where you're at spiritually. I know we don't have too much time.
Oh, you're fine. As long as she's happy, I'm good.
Oh, she's fine.
You got a couple minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I definitely could be wrong. That's the old, what's the, I'm not as well read up right now on this stuff.
That's okay.
Pascal's wager. That's kind of that whole concept. Yeah, and I definitely understand that, but I think it definitely goes both ways. And I would say, when I was a Christian, when I was a practicing Christian, I guess, to be a Christian, there's a lot of ways that affects your life. A lot of things that you're choosing not to do, a lot of things that you're choosing to do.
Yeah.
Disciplines that you're trying to instill in your life and things like that. Those things also take, they take parts of your life. They take time, they take energy, they take, sometimes it's voluntarily giving up, certain, I don't want to say rights, but just, you're feeling that you want to do something.
Yeah, I completely understand, because
it's, so when you decide not to believe that stuff, you also gain some of those things. So I think it's, it's not just as simple as I could be wrong and that means I could go to hell forever. Well, a Christian could be wrong and they spend the entire only life they have, spending time and energy and all this kind of stuff that ended up being in vain.
Yeah.
So, it goes both ways.
I do think eternity has a much larger weight in that sense. That's really
Sure,
Pascal's wager.
Right.
It's just that there's essentially eternity specifically that he's talking about.
Right, but it still is, I'm still trying to balance that alongside.
But I get what you're saying.
That weighs something in that scale, it does.
Yeah.
But there's also just the practicalities of are the arguments for this that actually speak to whether or not it's actually true, do they speak to me at all? Or are they kind of falling flat?
Which, speaking of, have you done much like research into evidence for Christianity? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I not so much now, but I've spent a good amount of time just listening to debates.
Oh, really?
Side, so
okay.
So that way I'm hearing both perspectives, and it's not a one-sided, takedown video or something.
Yes, I understand.
Or reaction video. So,
yeah, I love debates.
Yeah.
Actually, but I'm curious if you'll take this. Do you know who Lee Strobel is?
I know the name definitely.
Okay.
You'd have to refresh my memory a little bit, but yeah.
No, it's okay. Well, he was an atheist, and he became a Christian. He was an investigative journalist, and he became a Christian off of the historical evidence. His wife, who became a Christian, kind of gave him the idea because he didn't like that she was a Christian. They kind of were like this atheist couple.
Sure.
And so, here, I can give it to him. Thank you. This is his booklet. He sells them super cheap, so I hand these out.
Yep.
Maybe just like a refresher for you.
Yep.
But I always love to give people that because, I can tell you about Jesus, and I can even be as kind to you as possible, but I think also giving you some kind of evidence will help just at least reinforce that this is something intelligible,
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the claims are that he makes in there, but I think I've definitely heard a lot of the the historical case for Jesus type stuff, and I don't really necessarily even disagree with that he was that he existed or that he was a person or anything like that.
Yeah, so you're not a mythicist.
No, it's not. It's like just. I guess it's more. It's not even like a hill that I'm super interested in dying on per se. Like I'll just grant that he existed. I don't know. Where it starts to become slippery for me is evidence for things like resurrection and stuff like that.
Sure.
Most of the time when I'm hearing those arguments, they just feel like they're. Sorry, I'm going to say this. It's been so long since I even had these discussions with anybody. They are, I guess, carrying a lot of weight without that much to back them up, I guess, in terms of a person coming back to life.
No, I get what you're saying.
That's a very bold thing to claim having happened. And,
yes.
Normally I think we would expect some pretty substantial and remarkable evidence to support that, and I just don't typically see that. But I certainly could be wrong.
And I know that some, at least most atheists that I know, don't know of all of the evidence.
Sure.
Because from my research, there is actually substantial, especially compared to anything else in the ancient world. I will say that you still have to be open to it to this point where, because for a lot of people, that evidence is just not enough. And I understand why. It's not overwhelming, but it is substantial.
Sure.
So it's to this point where, there's even this one atheist lady who works at, it's not MIT, and she was an ancient historian, and she ended up becoming a Christian just because of the evidence. And I think that's really cool. It's just, for me, it's like, I want evidence for God. I also want evidence for contingency, morality, consciousness, and the evidence. To me, it's more of like the cumulative case of Christianity. Does the world around me fit with what I'm given in Scripture? I think it does. That's really what convinces me. and also I've seen it played out practically in people.
Sure.
So that really for me is the convincing factor. This definitely wouldn't do it for me, but it would get me on this like train rolling if I were in your state. But I would say certainly to have that open mind. Seems like you do. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm always open to being wrong. So like, let me ask you a question.
Absolutely.
Are you starting from a perspective of this being the truth?
Well,
or is it more that you're trying to figure out what the truth is, and through doing that, the evidence leads you there?
That's a great question because I often don't think, because I do this naturally, is where I will prove or disprove things in multiple different ways, and I've done that with Christianity. I know there are 3 ways I've done it, but 2 I can only think of is just falsification and just it's called box top philosophy.
Okay.
Is where you just kind of like start from what you can see around you and use with your 5 senses, and just conclude from there is just your philosophy. So like Rene Descartes' I think therefore I am. It's just like that's the basis. You know you exist because you can think. Right, and so that's just the basis of essentially that type of philosophy.
Okay.
That's box top. You know, you might have one atheist like say, I've heard this before, is like, I don't think we actually do exist in a sense because it only like our thoughts do, like physical reality doesn't. And so it's like, but it's kind of missing the fact that you actually do think and that you do interact with the system. To say that system itself doesn't actually exist, I think is going too far, because it does exist to some extent, right? I can't say 100% for sure with 100% proof, but I can say for 100% proof I do exist.
Right.
So I think but there's also falsification, which is just you assume it's true and you attempt to falsify it. And so I've done both. I think when I was younger, I attempted to falsify it. But I as I got older, I attempted to do the box top, which is just more typical.
Sure.
But I will say a lot of like science and I love astrophysics. I love the Big Bang. I think it's really cool. I got to do some of that in college, just some of the calculations.
That's
it was
cool.
like really neat.
Nice.
So, but thank you so much for having this conversation. It's an honor to meet you.
Absolutely.
And I hope you read this, because
I might take a peek at it.
Amazing story.
I think it's probably stuff I've heard before.
Yeah, possibly.
But you know, I'm always interested to learn more, and even if I don't change my mind from it, it's still just another chance to hear
someone else's perspective.
Learn more stuff. Yeah.
So,
sure.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
And I hope you have a good day with your daughter.
Thank you very much. She's having a good time, I'm sure.
Yeah, where is she? She's over there. She's over there. I'm glad she didn't run away, because we've had
Don't
that
say
before.
where is she.